Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Navs Effect Podcast. It's our first episode since the conclusion of the UAAP finals, and we've got a special guest joining us today. Can't wait to get into the conversations with this man who is quite knowledgeable when it comes to the game of basketball, especially college basketball in the Philippines. But before we get started with that, a quick word first from our sponsor, Get Blued.
Calling all Ateneo fans. UAAP Season 86 is upon us, and the roar of the crowd is about to fill the air as the Blue Eagles gear up to defend their throne. Are you ready to be the sixth man and fuel their journey to victory to keep the crown in Loyola Heights? We know you bleed blue, and now it's the time to show it with pride. Get Blued is here to help you do just that. The brand new collection of Ateneo gear is hotter than ever, and it's the perfect way to display your unwavering support for Team Ateneo. Let your wardrobe do the talking this UAAP season. Wear your pride, stand with the Blue Eagles, and be part of the winning tradition. Don't miss out on the excitement. Join the Ateneo community in cheering for victory. Get ready to soar with the Blue Eagles and get blue.
Okay, we're now back, and we're joined by CSB Blazers head coach Charles Tiu. Coach, I know you didn't expect or hope to have the end of your season to start this early in December, but here you are. How have you been doing since the end of NCAA Season 99?
I've been okay. It's been, well, technically we had a third place game, so we just officially ended a few days ago. But yeah, it's been tough. Still struggling, and I still watch some of the games. I'm still like, man, that should be us playing in the finals. But it is what it is. We didn't perform this season, and hopefully we just have to get better. But yeah, it's been frustrating and hard, to be honest.
Well, one of the pros of you not being in the finals is that I can have you on this podcast, and I've been wanting to have you on here for a while because I feel like there's a lot to discuss with your CSB program. By the way, first of all, I have to say the third place game, I really like that idea. I wish the UAAP would adapt it as well. Kudos to the NCAA for doing that because it just gives you another game, an exciting matchup, to watch for fans especially, and a great way to determine who should get the third place, because that has an impact in general championship tallies down the stretch of the season. When you first heard about the third place game happening, were you a fan of the idea? How did you amp your boys up to really, be motivated for this?
Oh, it was tough, man. I mean, to be honest, the bigger challenge, I guess, was it came so long after our Final Four defeat. It's like if they played in the finals, game one would have been much easier, but we waited till game two, so we had about 12 days, 13 days in between games, and it's tough when you're not really playing for much. But we just tried to remind them that, look, what we're trying to build here is a culture where we want to win every game, whether you're playing for first or a regular season game or here. We were playing for third, and we said, we still want to, your point was spot on. We told them we want to help Benilde win the overall NCAA championship. So if we didn't get them any points by finishing third, then we tried to aim for that.
Fantastic, and you guys won, so kudos to you for doing that. Now, from the outside looking in, it felt like a frustrating season for the CSB Blazers, which, it makes me realize a few things. One, how far the program has come, because just a few years ago, if someone told CSB fans, like maybe 5-6 years ago, you'd be playing in a third place game, they would take that opportunity. If someone told them you'd be in the Final Four with a chance to make the finals, they'd take that opportunity. But of course, given that you were coming off a season where you make the finals, game 3 of the finals within one win of a championship, I can imagine that some of the ups and downs of season 99 were difficult to deal with. So, Coach, from your perspective, everything that happened, everything that took place, what was the reason why you weren't able to get back to that finals? And was it as frustrating as it seemed like from the outside?
I'd say yes, it was as frustrating as it seemed like, to be honest, because, we knew what these guys could do, yet we couldn't get them to play together. At least I feel responsible for this because, I feel like I didn't maximize what we had. But the pressure of having expectations from people, the pressure to win it all really makes a difference. It's not that easy. You see Mapua in that bubble season, they were in the finals. The next year they're not even close to the Final Four. Rough start. I mean, it's tough. I know there's a saying in the NBA, and I shared the team kind of like that disease of more, when everybody wants a little bit of a bigger piece of the pie. Your role, you want a bigger role. It starts changing the whole dynamics of everything versus before you're just a hungry team just trying to make the playoffs. In terms of personnel, I really think the loss of my two main point guards, JC Cuellar and Jimboy Pastoran, really was a big thing. Prince Carlos did his best and he's improved so much throughout his years with us in Benil, but JC was just a different breed. He's a natural leader. He defends like crazy. Any of the best guards of the other teams, I really make him defend. And then he's just so good in facilitating and he organizes everything, knows how to get the ball in the right spots, knows what plays to call, and it really helped everybody perform better. And I think that was a big difference. I know you look at his stats, he's like, what, 5 points per game? Nothing great, but it's all the things that you don't see in the stat sheet that he brings, all the intangibles. And that was tough for us. I think also partially with the Will Gozum missing a couple of months, staying away from the team, and then so not really figuring out exactly where should I use him, what position, who's gonna play what position. That also was a bit of a challenge for us. But I think we can't make excuses because we had enough talent to really compete and to win it all, I still believe. But we forgot to do the little things. We weren't as hungry to make sacrifices, and I think that's really what hurt us.
Yeah, it felt like some of the little things to win basketball games. Your Blazers were doing that more in 98 compared to 99. And it just felt like one of the seasons where you were trying to get on a run of consistency, playing the right way, but then something would happen every few games where it would derail that, and it felt like you would have to start from scratch. And like you said, the loss of Cuellar and Pastoran were huge because they were floor generals, and I feel like we particularly saw the importance of a floor general in both the NCAA and UAP finals, with Evan Nelly really stepping up for LaSalle in the UAP finals, and now Jacob Cortez playing that role in the NCAA. The Will aspect of it, I think people forget that he was coming off a major hand injury in the off season too, where it was fractured. He had to stay out a few months, and I feel that you guys were trying to maybe play him more as a wing perimeter player as compared to the inside presence he was showing last few seasons. So was there a challenge there, just figuring out where Will could be most effective, but at the same time also trying to expand his game to show off more of what he's capable of?
Definitely. We wanted to develop him. Actually, my goal was to convert him to a wing to help him internationally in his career. But of course, when he got hurt, that took away a good 3 months from us, and he was staying with Quezon. Even before he got hurt, he wasn't really joining our practices because he wasn't sure if he wanted to come back. So that definitely set us back a bit. We eventually sticked on putting him as a big man, but we lost the versatility and the flexibility of putting him to two positions. But Will lost some time, but I think part of it still is the responsibility as being an MVP. He still has to, or should have done a better job. His numbers went down by 4 points or 3 rebounds, and it's kind of perplexing, to be honest, because Will's a really good player, and he had some games where he had a game where he had 2.0 rebounds, like 6 points, 4 turnovers. I'm like, man, I'm still trying to figure out what happened, because he's really good. I mean, he's shown what he can do. So up and down season for Will, I'm not really sure, but I kept saying, without Will anyways, last year we wouldn't have made it to the finals. Without him this year, we probably wouldn't be able to win the championship. So I'm still happy that Will decided to come back. Of course, I feel bad that we weren't able to win. But yeah, to your point with the point guards, I mean, let's keep it real. The best point guards in the respective leagues, their teams are both in the finals. In our league, it's Escamis and Jacob Cortez, I think, hands down. And look, they're both in the finals. The UAAP, yeah, you could make a case for Nele and Kagulan to be the best point guards in the I'm certainly a big fan of them. I mean, I know the UAP has some great point guards in Baclaan, all these Remoga, but LJ Gonzalez, but still, I mean, I think those two guys are the most complete with championship experience. Let's not forget Evan won championships with San Beda too. So, these guys they have what it takes. But for our season, sometimes one stroke of bad luck really changes everything. Most of our losses were, except for our loss against EAC in our last game, was it all our losses were less than 5 points, or
Mm.
3 points, 4 points. And most of those games, we were controlling the game or we were leading, and we just make some silly mistakes, some silly turnovers. And we end up losing. I mean, that's basketball for you. And both our Lyceum losses, the first game, we didn't have Will. And then when we were kind of peaking or playing well in the second round, when we played them, Mark Sanko was suspended. And these guys are very vital pieces to my team. So those were tough blows for us. But I mean, again, we can't make excuses. That's part of basketball. That's what makes it hard to win a championship.
For sure. Coach, people are wondering what your relationship with Will was like because of, game 3 of the finals last season, where you had a little bit of a moment after you called the timeout, I believe, or after one play. But it seems like you and Will were able to work that through. And, even Coach Topex and Evan said after they won the championship, the trusted player in the team and the coach, sometimes they will butt heads. What's your relationship with Will like? And my second follow-up question to that is, when people remember Will's legacy as a Blazer, yes, he did not win a championship, but he did play a big role as an MVP in bringing the team to the finals. How do you think people should remember Will's legacy as a Blazer?
Ooh, it's tough. I can't say he's the greatest Blazer because we didn't win a championship, and Sunday Salvacion, I think, was also the MVP. But he's got to be up there. I mean, he helped really turn this program around. I've never had any problems with Will, to be honest. He's always been respectful. I'm hard on him compared to other guys because I really want him to learn. I mean, especially mentally. But look, I mean, right after that tournament, I brought him to Dubai to compete with my team because I wanted to give him experience. Everything Will has asked me, I've tried my best to fulfill his wishes, whether it's allowance or all the little things. And I'm sure he knows that. But yeah, Will, not just an MVP, he also was a Mythical 5 member, the defensive team member. Should have been part of the Mythical 5 at least also this season, but again, up and down season. But he's had a really great run for Benil, and without him, I don't think we would have gone close to competing for a championship. I don't think we'd make it to the Final Four either. So, a big part of our success we attribute to Will, and it's a testament to him as a basketball player.
You also had some interesting comments during the season, and sometimes it felt like your comments, whether that was in the media or social media posts. Now, some people who might not know you might be wondering, okay, why is he so outspoken? Why is he so outlandish about some of the words he's choosing? But you've always been someone who hasn't been shy to express your thoughts and being candid about your opinion about things, especially when it's an up and down season, right? What was your thought process behind some of the comments you said to the media, which some people might have thought were harsh, some people thought were fair? Was it a way to ignite something in your team, or was it just you being upfront about how you really felt about things and what was happening through the course of the season?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. To be honest, I really wanted my players to be pissed. I wanted them to get mad at me and to prove me wrong, to shut me up by playing well. I think they, after those little outbursts, it kind of they responded anyways. The first time I said we were overrated. The next game we won against JRU. The next time I forgot which one, but they responded and played a bit better. But I mean, it's easy for people to criticize, and it's valid. What I said, I should be criticized for. I even have some of my mentors or my older coaches who are always looking out for me, like, yeah, you shouldn't be saying these things. I'm like, yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, again, when you lose, you're emotional, you're upset, but sometimes I deliberately think that, yeah, I'm really going to light them up in the press. But the players know, I apologize to them right after all of this, and I explain why I said those things, because I want to send them a message. But they understand. We talk. I mean, most of the things we say in the media, or rather what we say behind the scenes, people don't really know. I think we have a healthy relationship with the players. And in fact, we may have lost, but getting a lot of the heartwarming messages from the seniors amongst us, in our messages, text, or when we saw each other after this whole season, it's actually fulfilling. It kind of makes you feel like, okay, I must be doing something right, because after losing and getting eliminated, the only thing in my head is like, man, I'm a terrible coach. What am I doing with this team? And it's so easy to get down and disappointed. But I mean, that's part of coaching. I mean, a lot of the coaches share the same. They're like, yeah, we really feel that way when we lose. But that's basketball for you.
Yeah, a lot of people say coaching is one of the most unforgiving jobs in the world because you don't get a lot of the credit when you win, but you get a lot of the blame when you lose, right? Now, you do have an exciting team potentially coming in season 100 with a lot of the new recruits, including Justin Sanchez, Tony Enot, Alan Liwag, Antonio Sebio, just to name a few, right? And you've had some off-season success too, winning the Phil Basket and performing well in some of the other off-season tournaments. How excited are you to coach the season 100 team? And will consultant slash coach Raiko still be part of the Blazers moving forward?
I would like to hope so. Coach Raiko, he actually says, he wants to retire, but he says he wants to come back to be with me. So I leave that up to our sponsor, boss Frank Lau, to arrange things for him. But yeah, he was a big part. I was happy that I wanted him. I brought him in also specifically to coach that Team B team that we had because I wanted him to understand what it's like to be coached by a guy at an international level. Like my goal is always to give these guys the best coaching. That's why I try to bring in I brought in Coach Zoran, a Slovenian coach, also beforehand, just to give them an experience, a different way of basketball from what they're so used to here. But going back to your question on the Team B, I think I'm definitely excited to coach them. In a way, I still want to manage expectations because I know you could say we won the field basket tournament, but some of those teams were also just kind of formed right before the tournament. And we had an import, Eman Ojula, who came from FEU, who I recruited, and I was like, man, he was a difference maker. So, and there are no imports in the NCAA, right? But that being said, I think my biggest concern with that team is how to get everybody to gel together. There are a lot more egos in that team. In our team, they were, everybody was so coachable. I never had any problems with any players. Everybody was respectful. Here, I think I have a few more flamboyant characters to manage, egos to manage, but it goes with the territory. It's better to have guys like that who have talent than guys who just can't play. And I think there definitely is talent. So I hope we can continue to develop them, and I hope we can get together sooner because some guys are still like Sanchez and Enot are still playing in the PSL. So I hope we can have a full unit already.
Some people are expecting the season 100 roster will come in as talent-wise at least a favorite to compete for the championship right away. Are you trying to slow down the horses with those expectations? Do you feel like there's still so much work to do with this team?
Absolutely. They have a lot to learn. As much as you think that we've recruited well, Sanbeda's done the same. Sahonya's there, Lina's there, the Kalimag brothers are there. They got a lot of good players coming. EAC has retooled. They have a lot of guys waiting, guys like Doromal, Manlapas from Adamson, Pagsanhan from UE. And the other teams are also doing their part recruiting. So it's not like we have the best recruitment class or the best team B. It's gonna be tough. And say what you want. Look, we got 3 good point guards. Are any of them better than Clint Escamis, who's gonna be back next year? I don't think so right now. Are any of them better than Jacob Cortez? I don't think so. I hope so. I hope again they're watching this and be like, screw you, coach. Yeah, we're better than him. But I don't know. It's not as easy as that. But I do think overall that talent-wise, there will be an improvement. So now it's like, man, how am I gonna trim down the guys to 15 or 18 even? So it's tough, but it's a good problem to have. I mean, at least now guys actually want to play for Benil. Before, when I started with Coach TY, man, we were having a really hard time recruiting guys. It was tough, but now it's becoming one of the destination schools, I guess, in the NCAA. So that's a good sign. I mean, that's one of our goals to really revamp the program. But of course, the end goal is still to win a championship, and we're not quite there yet.
What do you say to some of the criticism that people might have about CSB, quote unquote, poaching or getting players from other teams? Do you have a response to that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. The truth is, and this is, I mean, you can ask the players. I've never spoken to the players until they came to CSB. We didn't tell them to leave San Beda. They had their own issues with San Beda and they were going to leave. If it wasn't us, they were going to go to another school. They might have gone to the UAAP, but of course, our advantage in the NCAA is that they can play in the MPBL or other leagues while waiting. I think for Sanchez and Eno, what they told me was they weren't allowed to play in outside leagues. So I mean, so I'm like, okay, here I am. They're playing the PSL. I wish they weren't, but if that was part of their agreement, then yeah, fine. Go ahead. Look, if guys want to leave the school, then I can't do anything about that. If I went up to the player and spoke to them and made an offer while they're playing for another team, and that's not good. I mean, Liwag told me, and I don't want to name names, but Alan Liwag told me, even while he was in EAC, another rival school already approached him while he was playing the NCAC. So, I mean, we've never done that. So we try to follow, we try to respect the rules. Alan Liwag left. I don't know what his real reason was, but I guess part of it was, Coach Oliver leaving or this and that. So it was stuff. But when guys don't want players, we want to try to get, or when, like Antonio said, we didn't poach him from UP. I guess he wanted to leave. They weren't sure of their plans for him either. So we took him in. I think he's also a great addition. Obviously, most Sanbeda fans are upset us, but I mean, I wouldn't do that to Yuri, who's one of my good friends. In fact, I even let him know, hey, I heard this guy's leave. I told him beforehand. So it is what it is, though. I mean, that's part of basketball. I mean, I've also lost some players. Well, one to JRU, but I didn't make a big fuss about it. But again, if a player of mine feels he has a better opportunity in another school, then I'm all for it. Because I mean, again, your goal is to develop players, give them the best path for their future. So if it's not here, then it's okay. I would really wish them well.
That's a great answer. But also another topic I want to bring up, because you've been vocal about this, is the increased presence lately of betting websites, particularly when it comes to college basketball in the Philippines. And you can noticeably see it in the off-season tournaments, where in the comment sections of streams of games, people are posting odds, numbers, money line, spread, and all of that of the games going on. And not only does it incite, the possibility of people thinking games are rigged, but like we know for years and years, having been in college basketball for a while, there are certain scenarios where players might be approached by certain people, maybe even coaches, and who knows what happens from there. We have so many incidents over the last few years. In fact, a few years ago, a certain star player in the UAP had to have bodyguards with him at all times because of fear that he might be approached, right? The increased presence of sports betting in the Philippines, particularly for amateur sports, does that concern you?
Absolutely, it does. It's really sad, in my opinion. And you're right. You can't deny it. There is a lot of these things going on, whether you want to admit it or not. Whether in the college ranks, whether in the pro ranks, even high school ranks, it's tough. So it's something we try to remind and guide our players about. I'm very vocal and opinionated. They know it. I tell it straight to their face. When you hear stuff or when it seems fishy, but at the end of the day, you never be able to prove it unless somebody straight up squeals and says what's going on, right? So or whistle blows. So it's a challenge, but what can you do? I mean, you can't also coach thinking, man, these guys are selling games or what. That messes you up. It's tough. I wish it weren't there. I wish in a perfect world, referees were always calling the game really as they see it. Oops, I'm not trying to get into trouble, but our players always want to win. But the reality is it's out there and it's disappointing. I really wish one day some guy writes a book about it and names names. Shit, I would love to see all the names and you'd be really surprised. But I mean, that's part of basketball here. I'm sure it also goes around all over the world.
Yep.
But with more access to gambling websites where more people have an opportunity to bet, where there's more money, it makes it so much easier to approach players to offer them things, because now there's a big pool of money for them to be won, versus if it weren't as accessible, if there were basically nowhere to bet, then it makes them think like, hey, is it even worth it to invest in a player to try to make money when I can only put this much? But it is what it is. I don't think this gambling is going away anytime soon. So I just firmly believe that, as a coach, I just try to get them to play the best. And if somebody doesn't respond, then we'll put somebody else to fill in that void. That's a reality you're having to deal with here in the Philippines.
Another topic of interest as of late has been the increased allowance and perks of college players when they're recruited by certain schools. Now, some people might argue that's been around for a long, long time, as far as the early 2000s when you talk about the premier programs of college basketball. In fact, back in the 2010s, a player once told me he was recruited by a premier program, and part of the package to get him to that premier program was a car, a house and lot, and a certain amount of Philippine pesos, right? And then some would argue, well, why are we, hesitant to let these college kids get the opportunity to monetize their potential as early as now? Because unlike a doctor or a lawyer or a writer such as myself, where people can, succeed in this profession till their 60s and 70s, for athletes, their shell life is, shorter because their bodies will break down eventually. So where do you stand in that regard?
It's tough right now. I think, and financially, our program is okay. I mean, we have the support of Boss Frank Blau, the Reyes brothers, Andoy, Carlo, some of the other DLSU supporters, Sir Rafi, Vicencio, Eric, Sir Nilo, Renji. We got a lot of supporters that are coming in, really supporting us. So I'd like to think we're one of the better funded NCAA schools right now, but it's tough. You still, when you look at us, you could say, hey, okay, your funding is decent, but you compare that to what these UAAP schools are offering players, it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't even want to name the schools' names, but what some players are getting is like, wow. But to me, look, it's their money. They want to spend it on that. It's no problem. And if you're helping players have better lives, then I don't blame the players for taking it. Of course, for us, we keep reminding them, our players, that, hey, look, it shouldn't be about the money. It should be doing about what's best for you, getting the best education from your school. But a lot of these guys, they're from poor backgrounds, any money to help their family. I mean, some of these guys are breadwinners of, I mean, I've had some player that's a breadwinner of like four to six siblings. Wow. Two different guys, and they're living off a 10,000 allowance and sending money to the province. I mean, it's not exactly easy. So if they have a chance to make money, sure, go ahead. And you're right, it has been going on for a while. Even way back, there were some really big offers. But I think most of those really good offers were really for those once in a generational talent.
Talents, yeah.
Guys who weren't, yung alam mo talagang superstar na for sure. But now it seems like everybody's just getting so much money, or the allowances are, I know there's inflation, whatever, but going back to what my brother was making in Ateneo when he was playing, it's like, man, it's nothing. It's peanuts, literally. And most of them at that time. And nowadays, everybody's taken care of. But I don't blame the schools. Look, if they want to win in sports, then go ahead and fund it. And if it's coming from the boosters who want to help the sports program to win, I think that's also great for the school. Because look, if your sports team is winning, it also really gives the school a good image, and it helps increase enrollees or applicants. It raises awareness for the school. So I think that's why sports is also something that most schools really value.
So last question with regards to CSB and NCAA. How do you feel the support from the CSB community has improved over the last few years? And do you feel, in terms of competing against the support from other fan bases of other NCAA schools, there are still ways to go for the CSB community?
Well, I know we have one fan, your sister. I think she's a fan.
She's a very emotional fan, but she loves her school for sure.
I know. It's picked up, to be honest. I feel as these social media wise, there's more awareness. I wouldn't say it's at the top of the NCAA schools, though. Unfortunately, I think we've got a long ways to go. But we've had some fans come to our games even when we were struggling, starting slow. I mean, you look at Letran this year, basically their fan gallery was quite empty because they were struggling. And for us, I think, even when we played Lyceum in the third or fourth place game, we had way more fans than Lyceum. So in a way, that's a good sign. But when you compare us to that, let's say, I'm talking about the live games to schools like JRU, Lyceum, EAC, Arellano, they pack it, and we'd be like empty. But I know it's hard. We're from Taft. It's kind of far, but I think overall the community's been great. The school, I mean, our athletics office, they've been great. Our chancellor, our president, Brother Dodo, everybody's been so supportive. I know the faculty has also been very supportive. Some of them are watching every game from the admin office, everybody. So it's nice to know that. Pero for me, kulang pa. And personally, I see the comments of how, let's say, I'm in some Green Archer Nation fan group or whatever. Ateneo's one big fight. Like, these comments are toxic. There are a lot of positives. There are also a lot of negatives. So I'm like, well, I haven't really been tagged or bashed as bad as these guys have. So I guess we still got ways to go. But hey, we got to start somewhere, right? So we still have time to turn things around and get more fans. I do hope the support from the school would increase. It's fun to play in front of a lot of people.
For sure. And just a quick note on Nicole, my sister. If you guys win a championship in season 100, she's going to paint Taft Avenue red with some of her ideas on how to celebrate. That's for sure. So I hope she gets to celebrate that. Now, let's shift gears here to the UAAP. Did you get to catch some of the UAP finals games? And what were some of the interesting adjustments or key moves made by Coach Topex, particularly in that game 3, that you think allowed LaSalle to pull away and win the school its first championship in 7 years?
Well, to be honest, in the first game after they got blown out by UP, it was like, man, this is going to be really tough. But it kind of reminds me of how our team looked in the finals last year against Letran. Very first game of the finals, it's a different stage. All the nerves are there, and it just couldn't perform. But once LaSalle kind of got that down in game 2, they were a different team, and they got enough confidence. When they blew UP out, they're like, man, we can beat this team badly. And that gives you so much confidence as a player. But number one, I like their aggressiveness on defense. They really were doing a great job.
Switching everything too, yeah, right?
Switching everything, showing hard, forcing UP to really go a lot of one-on-one. Of course, I know they got hurt with their hard show a few times when Kagulang was able to hit Diouf in the role, but UP didn't really capitalize on that anymore. I think they forced UP to take a lot of bad shots, and that was really the key. When UP took a lot of ill-advised rush 3-pointers when they couldn't hit, LaSalle just was able to capitalize. And then I think I like some of the substitutions of Coach Topex, putting Policarpio and he hits a 3. Like small, was like, you know what? Let's not even try to match up with Diouf anymore size-wise, but let's give him a tougher time. Let's put somebody who can spread the floor, force him to come out a bit. I thought their key guys stepped up. I mean, the role players, you could say, stepped up. Like CJ Austria made some big plays. Francis Escandor,
yep.
Game number 2. But even in game 3, he had a nice drive. He chipped in. Joshua David at the start. But it was the 3-point shooting also of LaSalle, of great ball movement in the first half, particularly the first quarter, that really kept them in that game against UP. Otherwise, it would have been a blowout. They just were able to lock in and be so solid defensively. UP, I don't know, they took a lot of bad shots, rush shots, when I felt they didn't really have to. But of course, Kevin Kembao finally came to play his best offensive game in game number 3. I thought Evan made so many good decisions. He hit a big 3 when UP had that 5-6 point
4-point lead, yeah.
Then they went on a quick 5-0 run off a 3. That changed everything. And then UP just kind of folded. And I give so much credit to LaSalle, their players. I mean, their mental toughness. And I guess, sometimes in basketball we say, pag para sa'yo talaga. I guess this year it really was for LaSalle.
When a team like UP shoots 3 out of 36 from 3-point range in games 2 and 3, which is less than 10% for a team with some quality 3-point shooters, is that something you kind of just chalk up to being an anomaly, or is that something you kind of look at the shot attempts they got, the defensive pressure of LaSalle, and you say that's what led to the putrid 3-point shooting?
I'd say it's a bit of both, to be honest. UP also had their fair share of open looks, but some of the shots also were bad. Like, I remember particularly a 3-pointer from Torres when they were up by 7 or 8 in the fast break with no numbers. Like, why are you rushing? And then Alarcon's tough turnaround 3 when Kagulangan was wide open right beside him. And then a lot of the rush shots by Abadiano, even Cancino, the shot selection wasn't the best. But of course, you also credit that to the defense of LaSalle. Sometimes as a player, like, man, I just got to get a shot off because we're not getting good looks anyways. And then on the other side, I do think that, part of it is being in that moment, and it's so much tougher to hit shots when you're under pressure. And give credit to LaSalle because they were the ones hitting their shots when UP couldn't, when they were supposed to be the more experienced team.
Yeah, I thought Michael Phillips's help weak side defense was just such a huge factor as well because even if you get past and Kiambao too, Kiambao and Phillips were providing great help defense, and it was hard enough to get past LaSalle's initial perimeter defenders, but then you have to deal with those two rim protectors at the rim, and Evan just did a great job controlling the pace.
Oh, absolutely. I thought he was just excellent when he started sharing the ball. What did he get, a triple-double or a near triple-double in
Near triple game two,
game
yeah.
number 2? But he also had double-digit assists in game number 3, right?
And he only had like one turnover in game 2 as well.
And that's excellent. I mean, to get double-digit assists in a finals game, it's so tightly contested. That says a lot about his facilitating as a point guard. I thought earlier on it seemed like Agulangan had the upper hand on him, but he was able to hold his own and really made some big plays. And that big three-pointer again, I think, kind of turned things around. But I just thought when Kevin Kiambao got those 5 quick points to start the third quarter off a gamble by Torculas that he missed, and then just one-on-one scoring, that gave him confidence again and just got their whole team running. But you're right, I'm a big fan of Michael Phillips. I think even more impressive is that LaSalle basically did this without playing Bright Noanco. I mean, I'm sorry, but the biggest advantage of UP really is Malik Diouf. He's been the best import by far in the UAAP. So to win with Phillips holding his own, although Phillips kind of moves like an import anyways, man. His dunks are just nasty and his athleticism is great. I had some guys asking me if Phillips was the import of LaSalle. I said, no, he's just a regular local player. But yeah, Mike Phillips is great too, man.
Yeah, and next season, opponents are going to have to deal with both Phillips and Henry Agonane as rim protectors as Agonane comes in for DLSU. Now, of course, the big question is if Kiambao is going to stay or not, because I think if Kiambao comes back, they come in as the favorites compared to everyone else in the rest of the league. But it's a little more wide open if Kiambao does not come back to be determined. Now, seeing LaSalle win, seeing your neighbors win across the street, right? Do you think that's going to maybe motivate your Blazers a little bit for season 100 that, hey, we're now in the finals, like these guys are getting to the finals, we need to win a championship too.
I hope so. I mean, our goal has been to win a championship anyways. But yeah, I mean, this LaSalle team, they really had it coming. It's funny. One of our sponsors I mentioned earlier, Boss Rafi Villavicencio, he'd always ask me before the season, what do you think of our team? Every time there was a game in the Phil Oil tournament, how's our team look? Do you think we can beat UP? And I kept answering him, saying, yes, you guys are so talented. You have a lot of players. And I give all the credit in the world to Coach Topex. He did a great job. He's just the perfect leader for that team, pushed all the right buttons, and then surrounded himself with a great staff. But that team's also been together. The core's been together for a while. They've had their fair share of heartbreaks in the UAP the last 2 years. They should have been in the finals that bubble season also, if not losing to UP twice. So the guys are there, man. I mean, their players have been together for long. And it's usually in the 3rd, 4th year that everything comes together. And the time, that's why I just said the timing was really perfect for everything. But that talent-wise, man, they've always been the top in my eyes. So together with UP, I sometimes even felt that LaSalle had a deeper team than UP, but I don't know if that's honestly accurate. But I do think they will be the favorites still next year, especially if Kevin stays. So yeah, for us at Benil, I hope. Well, I don't know if the Ateneo side in me would want Ateneo to win, obviously, and not LaSalle, but it would be cool if there was a double Taft celebration if we could actually pull things off.
There have been some questions from fans of how long you were committed to this Blazers program. Some have wondered if you win the championship in season 100, if you may consider taking your coaching talents to the UAAP. Do you have any context there? How long are you committed to the Blazers, and how long would you want to stay as the head coach of the Blazers?
Well, to be honest, before this season, after our finals run last year, I did have an offer from the UAAP. They wanted to meet at least and talk, a school that shall not be named. And there was some interest. But again, I guess after this season where you don't make the finals, there's no more interest, right? That's coaching for you. One day you feel like you're at the top. The next season you could be like, this guy sucks. But to me, I just really want to win a championship in Benito. I'll be honest. There are days when I'm tired. Why am I even coaching basketball? I should be doing other things. focusing on business and things like that. But I just love the game. I love to compete, and I really like our players. I want to help players if I can anyway achieve their goals. So that's what keeps me motivated. And I do want to really bring back a championship to Benil. But I just take it day by day. I think, at least I'd like to think, I'd still be here next season. I know the school has said that they want me to stay for a while. But yeah, it really all depends. I also want to have to work for my family and everything. But I just like basketball a lot. But yes, it is tiring sometimes. There are days where you're like, man, I gotta move on. So I take it year by year, I guess. That's a better way to put it.
So right now your contract with CSB is year by year?
Well, I think they gave us a 2-year deal. I didn't even really look at it, to be honest. But I know we have, I think, 2 more years. 2 seasons, yeah.
2 seasons.
It was year by year, but they gave us 2 years after.
So this was after season 99 or after season 98?
I think after this year it's 2 more years because we just signed at some point. I gotta remember when that was, but
Got
yeah.
you. That should bring some peace of mind to some CSB fans listening to this. Now, before
if they still want me there.
now, I'm sure they do, Coach. I mean, you help rejuvenate that program. Now, before I let you go here, Coach Charles, just your thoughts in the NCAA finals right now. San Beda, Mapua, like you said, two extremely good college basketball point guards. 2 point guards who are in that conversation for best college basketball point guard in the Philippines today, Clint Escamis and Jacob Cortez. It, by the way, side note here, it's just so nice to see Jacob no longer be known as the son of Mike Cortez, but actually build a legacy of his own as Jacob Cortez, King Lion. Just your thoughts in game 3. What do you think it's going to come down to? And yeah.
Okay.
Also, yeah.
I think it's been a great series so far. Those two teams have played each other so well, even in their second round battle before this finals. They were really, toe to toe, back and forth. Mapua, look, the two guards again I mentioned earlier. I feel they're by far the best guards in the NCAA. Clint Escamis is just so much better than I thought coming from the UAAP. That's why I still think the talent in the UAAP is still a little bit higher than us in the NCAA. But Jacob Cortez, I've been a fan of him. I was actually with him in the Batangilas program right before the pandemic. I've always loved his game. So smart, great finesse, really good scorer. And he's just really come to his own. Like, it's really been his team. I know there are games where he shoots poorly, but it's also not easy to be the man in the team where every defense is preparing for you, game planning against you to try to slow you down. It's tough. But again, the great ones perform. So Escamis and Cortez, they've really been performing. But with Mapua, I think Escamis is, next go-to guy has been Paulo Hernandez, who I think has also been really excellent. But this team, they've been playing together since high school. They were teammates then with Bonifacio, all these guys. So that's really a big difference. With San Beda, it's crazy how sometimes you think less is more. They lost some guys to us, and they're the ones in the finals right now, playing at a better level. Guys knowing more of their roles. I think Sipuno has made a huge impact. And then I'm such a big fan of Yukian Andrade, who's a really, really good shooter, one of the best shooting big men, and he's so underrated. But those three guys, I think Coach Yuri has done an excellent job with his team. I mean, give him a lot of credit too. So it's a toss-up for me. I think maybe Mapua would still edge them out just by a little bit because they're a bit more physical than San Beda, and sometimes in game 3, in the NCAA, that's the game right now. The most physical team ends up winning. So that's why I give them a bit of an edge.
Now, another player I want to talk about is Migs Oczon, who, of course, you got to coach in CSB. Coach Topex talked about this when I had my Rappler talk with the Green Archers. He said that he has to play 2 hats right now with Kimbao. The hat of head coach, where he would love for KQ to come back, but the hat of a fatherly figure as a coach, where you want the best for your player, right? And I'm sure you went through something similar with Migs, where you would have loved the chance for him to come back and be part of the season 100 Blazers, but at the same time, to see him get the opportunity to go to Korea, make a livelihood, and take advantage of the moment to be able to go pro was another area you had to think about. So how did you balance that, and how do you just feel overall about Migs going pro?
Oh, well, I'll tell you a funny story. When we were in the preseason and playing in the field oil, I knew the Korean team was there watching our game. I ran every play for Oczon, and I was watching them from the bench. They were like so impressed. I was like, But I supported his decision 100%. You know, they've had some interest in him for months. We knew it was gonna come. Look, I just told him, you don't know when this opportunity will come again. And let's face it, he's not like a Kevin Kiambao or all these really big names. He basically came in as a role player from NU, from the high school ranks. He never was a superstar. He wasn't. Will Gozum was an MVP in high school. Miguel Oczon was just I guess he was a really good player, but you never consider him as a star or the face of your team. So for a team in the pro leagues to want to get you as an import, that means you've improved a lot. I mean, and he fits their game because he shoots like Koreans, the jump shot, everything. He's a good system player, which is what they like. And when I knew that, I tried to help develop him in this off season to be more of a point guard. Of course, in the season, he ended up playing the shooting guard for us, but I tried my best to put him at the point guard spot also because I wanted to help his future, to help him grow. I told him to prepare his body for the Korean League when that time comes, because that money you're going to make, I mean, it's more than PBA money for sure. So it's not easy. I mean, a lot of things could go wrong. I would have loved to coach him. Even my Team B guys were like, man, if you gave us Oczon, we'd really have a good chance next year. I said, I know that. I want him to play, but how can I be selfish when I want him? I mean, just because I want to win a championship, I'd ask this guy to give up that amount of money. In fact, the fact that he already gave up 4 or 5 months instead of signing with them, deciding to play with us first and holding everything off till after our season, I think that alone is a big sacrifice on his end. So to me, obviously the championship still eludes us. That's something that he wasn't able to give to our school, but I'm still really after what's best for my players. And I think this was the best decision for him. I mean, if it were another player and the situation were different, if I don't feel they're ready for the international stage or wherever for the pros, I would tell them straight. But I felt Oczon was ready. And I think that's the biggest thing, because you also don't want guys who aren't ready to just go out there and, you know, have them fail. Look, some of the better players you could say are the stars, like, let's say David Ildefonso was a great star. He's barely seeing the floor in Korea. So
even Tamayo in Japan.
Sometimes but at the end of the day, you're also getting paid and you're providing for your family. So it's really up to you to adjust, to improve, to find a way to get your coach to use you.
Right. Coach, there's one thing I wanted to ask too. Do you feel that the prospect of going pro, not just for Migs, but the other guys in the team, led to maybe some internal conflicts with your Blazers in season 99? Or was there something else that maybe internally the team had to sort through which led to the struggles? I know this goes back to our first topic on the pod, but I just thought about it now.
Oh, I'm not so sure, to be honest. I mean, I wish I knew. That's a good question, but I do believe we weren't as solid as we were last year. And that really was one of the challenges. I mean, the guys, they get along. They have a great relationship, at least from what I see. They really care for each other. But again, it's probably guys wanting to do a bit more that really ended up hurting us. So, yeah.
Interesting. Well, Coach, before I let you go, actually, one question, because I know you're also into the NBA a lot. Which NBA team right now has you thinking of them as the best bet to win the NBA championship?
Ooh,
is it Denver? Because I still think it's Denver when they're healthy.
It still might be Denver. Look, couple of games like today, Jokic got ejected and they still won. They actually held their own despite. And look at the line. There's no Jamal Murray. There's no Jokic, but they're winning. I still don't know if there's any team in the West that could kind of slow Jokic down. The Suns is too hard to see because the big three haven't played a single game together. The Clippers are starting to turn things around, so that's always good. I mean, but yeah, other than that, it's gonna be tough. I wish the Lakers would win because I'm a big LeBron fan. I wish Luka would win, but because I'm a Luka fan, but I don't see them being able to beat Denver. It's got to be either them or maybe the Bucks or the Celtics in the East, because the Celtics are also really playing at a high level.
Yeah, for sure. I can't. Minnesota's been like surprising a lot of teams too.
I don't think it's their time yet.
Yeah, they feel like a Western Conference final ceiling team, but I really like Edwards. He reminds me of Dwayne Wade with a 3-point shot.
Yeah, he's gonna be great for years to come.
Great for sure. Maybe we'll see him again in the Philippines one day. Coach, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, short notice and everything, but this was a great conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing your team in the off season already. Are you guys joining Pinoy Liga, Phil Oil, all of that?
Yeah, we're joining, so I hope to see you there, and I thank you also for your support always, and I love seeing your stuff. So thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate it, coach. And I'll talk to you soon again. I'm sure. Best of luck season 100 and best of luck with everything else. Appreciate your time.
See ya.